7:02. Ms. Shiakari, would you lead the flag salute?
Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Suzanne, would you please take roll call?
Trustee Bernal,
Here?
Trustee Villalobos. Here. Trustee Levin.
Here.
Trustee Jewell.
Here.
Trustee Shiakari.
Here.
Thank you.
The district digitally records the audio portion of the meetings. The recorder is located in front of the board scribe. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. As a community service, Pacifica Community Television records and broadcasts the meetings. Okay, report out on closed session topics. The board met in closed session regarding public employee discipline, dismissal, release complaint, and public employee performance evaluation. No action was taken. Okay, approval of the minutes for June 13th. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the meetings for June 13th? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Approval of the minutes for August 8th. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable, and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent of the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed on the regular order of business following the approval of the consent agenda. Okay. Go ahead with it. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay, do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, all in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to do it during communications?
I would love to.
Okay. Communications, this portion of the agenda is available for the public to address the board on any issue that is not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for the speaker is 3 minutes. LSEA? CSEA? Okay, people wishing to address the board? Okay. Correspondence? None? Okay.
Just a second.
Oh.
I had a question. There was an item on the personnel agenda, and I wasn't sure if we had a speaker that wanted to speak.
I was
We're
hoping
going to do that.
to address it in my
In the
superintendent's
correspondence.
comments.
That was. So, board superintendent communications.
So, in the consent agenda, you approved the appointment of George Machado? Did I say that? Machado? Who is going to be our new Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations. And just to tell you a little bit about him is that he has worked with the Cabrillo School District since 2001. He started as a custodian too and worked his way up to the lead position in Cabrillo School District. We had two committees that favored him from the standpoint of we loved the fact that he was a coaster, so he understands what that means for our buildings and our facilities. We love the fact that he's a team player, and we really look forward to working with him. So, thank you for joining our school district.
I was going to say, can he say something? Would you like to say something?
I would just like to say, good evening, board and board members, and I really appreciate the opportunity to show you what I can do for Pacifica School District. I hope that I can satisfy the stakeholders, the students, and the faculty, and everybody in this room in the future.
Thank you for joining us. And thank you all for coming, but you don't need to stay for the entire meeting.
But you're welcome to.
You are welcome to, we appreciate it.
Okay. District business. The district values the goals provided by our local control accountability plan and strategic.
Elizabeth, I think we didn't do communication.
Oh, sorry, we went past the
We went
communications.
past- That was such big.
I have
So
things to
Kathy, do you have
communicate.
things to say?
During this last month, I attended the new school year kickoff event at IBL, and I have to say, Heather, I thought you did a great job of being very warm, and in circulating around talking to our staff, they were very upbeat, I think, and hopeful, and feeling really good about the start of the school year. So, thank you. I attended the meeting with Brookwood on the workforce housing, and we had talked a little bit. I'd heard from other board members about feeling not quite as involved or informed about the workforce housing, and Elizabeth and I, serving on the committee, we're going to be going and doing a site visit to Casa Del Maestro down at one of the junior colleges. And I'm wondering if it would be helpful if we did like a video. Is that legal that we could maybe videotape some of it, and maybe Heather could send it out to the rest of our school board so they could kind of see, you know, if we did it without sound or something? Yeah, I mean, something that sort of gives more of a feel. And I'm also wondering if maybe we should be sort of doing like mini minutes of our, even these small meetings we're having with them.
Yes, we can do that.
So that everybody in between our big discussions, you know, school board meeting discussions, at least then everybody could be included and kept more up to date, and see if that works a little better. So that's just something I was pondering. And then of course Saturday we had our all-day board governance meeting, talking about how going forward we're all going to work together, and I thought it went really well, and I really appreciated the comments and the discussions about, and I just appreciate how our board, we can have dissent, but it can be respectful and considerate. So that is my report.
Very good. Well, I went to the new teacher orientation. It was good to see the new faces. There were a lot of people in the room, but everybody was seeming quite excited to get their new jobs underway, and so that was nice, hopeful beginning there. And then also did the all-day work study, whatever we called that thing on Saturday, on governance. And I too felt like it was very important to do, and we got the job done. I mean, we really did a lot of good communication there about how we see the district and how the district runs, and I think we talked about things that we hadn't talked to each other about. So that was good to do, and to bring Heather on board for all of this, and I think that we're getting to know our new employee here, and she seems to be working out well.
We'll keep her.
She's a keeper. That was it. Go ahead.
Okay. So I also was at the Saturday. It was a retreat.
It was a retreat, the board's retreat.
Retreat, and just to let
We
the
only came
public
here.
know what we were
We
up
didn't
to.
retreat anywhere.
We worked with a professional who is an expert in district leadership and governance, and tried to lay down some processes and protocols with all of us, and it was great having Heather here because she's really at the ground floor and helping us develop these as well. So it's you didn't walk in anything new. That was really good. I also went to the Cabrillo open house, and that was wonderful. I have 2 kids that go there. Tomorrow I'm going to Sunset Bridge for their open house. And so that was nice. It was good to hear from the PTO reps and also from the principal there, and then to talk to some of the teachers, mingle a little bit. And there seemed to be some good beginning of the school year energy going on. So I don't know if you agree, Heather. I saw you there. So you go to all of them, right? Or you try
No,
to?
because there are 3
At
at
the
a
same
time,
time.
and they're a half an hour
Oh,
apart,
of
so I can
course.
only go to the first one and the last one.
Of course. The only other thing I have to report is I went to my quarterly meeting for the California Department of Education Technical Design Group. So these are the people that sit in the background and try to offer advice on our accountability system, that dashboard, the 5x5 dashboard. And so that was, all-day event, have it quarterly, pretty intense. So we were talking a lot about trying to develop an alternative measure for the change score that we see, that one dimension. So not a replacement, but an additional value-added type of measure. And there's a lot of debate. And that's
It's a lot. So I went to the Ortega open house last week, and I sat in on a kindergarten class, and I didn't even recognize the teacher at first, but she taught my daughter, who's now a senior at Terra Nova, and she looks great. And so I was just, I was like, wow. And then I had my other daughter with me, who's in her first year of college right now, and she said hello to 2 of her teachers who are still there. So everything seems to be going. I chatted with Patrick, the principal, for a little while, and it seems okay so far in the beginning of the school year. I also went to the retreat on Saturday, and the thing I liked the best about the retreat is that some things came out in our discussions that we usually don't have a chance to talk about, because 3 of us cannot talk about anything because that's considered a meeting. And so we have to have everything in public. So it was really good to have that conversation, about our committees. I think it was mostly around the committees. And so I thought that was good. And I also appreciate every board member, because when we do disagree, we try to talk it out, and we don't always find a resolution, but we try to be respectful to each other. Go ahead. And then I won't name the person, but I ran into somebody, at Ross, and she just gave really good feedback about our superintendent and the new principal at Ocean Shore. So I just thought I'd share that.
Okay, I was at the new teacher orientation and lunch, as with everyone else, and the back-to-school night I went to Valamar, and it was really nice. Good attendance, and actually at all the schools, there was really good attendance on back-to-school night. I participated in the fingerprinting at Cabrillo School that was held on the first day of school, and then the main thing that was different than the rest of you was band camp at IBL. The few days before school started, there was band camp both at IBL for IBL and Ocean Shore, and Cabrillo and Valamar. So I went to the IBL one, and it's good to see the kids getting assigned their new instruments and trying things out and seeing what they liked, and getting them started. So it was kind of exciting to see them start on something that they'll work on for years. And then of course the retreat on Saturday.
So I'll start with the retreat, and I refuse to call it a retreat because we weren't at a spa. When we go to a spa, we'll call it a retreat. But the board governance session, I think, first of all, it's a little intimidating as a new learning superintendent to be around such a high-functioning board. And what is amazing is exactly that, is that you can each come with your viewpoint, and have disagreement, but do it completely respectfully where the group can act with one voice, and that's an amazing act, and you guys are a tight group, and I'm happy to be joining you. But the other piece that's fun about this is that you take your learning as seriously as our teachers take their learning, and as seriously as our students take their learning, and that's when we can consider ourselves a learning organization. I think that's exactly what we would want any, thank you, what we would want any school district to be. School has started and we are up and running. I have, as of last Thursday evening, visited all 6 of the schools, either through back to school night or first day of school visits. My typical pattern is now going to be a Wednesday staff meeting and a Thursday morning visit so that I can get in the classrooms and get to work with the staff, and I'm super excited about that, and so thank you very much.
Okay. Now district business. Okay, the district values the goals provided in our local control accountability plan and strategic plan. All of our district's board agenda items are tied to these goals. One or more goals is listed in the description of each board item. The details for each of those district goals can be accessed on our agenda online public page or by visiting the district website, www.pacificasd.org, under District Information, Board of Trustees. Okay, Educational Support Services Update, Bill Lucy.
All right, hello everybody. Get this up here. I have a PowerPoint presentation that comes up yet, okay. This is the update. We get these a couple of times a year. I just wanted to get you updated on things that have been going on within my department. And I can start with over the summer. This is what the update will include. We're going to talk about things that have happened over the summer, our CASP results, just a general overview of what we know so far in the CASP results. And then we're going to look at each of the programs: humanities, mathematics, school climate, social emotional science, world language, and music. So starting with over the summer, we had our K-to-K. We've had it now, I don't know how many years, but it's been a number of years. And Hilda Carlin, who's our lead, she is the one that gets it going, and with the help of a number of people, but also is around and monitors and is around for these teachers and for these programs throughout the summers. The program is 18 days. And the students are in the class for 3.5 hours per day. We have them on we have 5 classes on 4 sites, 2 at Sunset Ridge and Ortega, Valamar, and Cabrillo. Of the 96 children that enrolled, 95 were in attendance. Also, 24 of them, make sure I have this right number, 25 of them were first time in this is their first experience in a preschool or any kind of program. So that was pretty exciting. I think last year we had around the same amount. And then over the summer, technology-wise, we didn't spend money on technology over the summer because we don't have the money right now. They did a lot of work on updating the operating systems for PC. So there was a lot of, and then we did install some barcode readers for Ortega and Cabrillo to make it easier for students to get onto programs and also to check in and out books. We uploaded the Bridges, F&P, SBAC, and LPAC scores onto Illuminate and DataZone, which is our information systems. That was a bit of a battle, but we got them all up there. And then they set up 2 classrooms on Clever, which is a single sign-on. It's for those younger grades so they don't have to push in their passwords, that they can automatically sign on through a bar system approach. And then we installed Safe Search certificates on lab workstations, and apparently that's very, very important. I don't know exactly what that is, but we did it. As far as our CAS scores, and again, these are not, these are just general scores. They haven't been, the dashboard hasn't been released, but it's good news in that in mathematics, we are at a plus 19. I'm sorry. In English language arts, we are at a plus 19 in average score of compared to the standard MET. So if there's the average score of standard MET, and we are 19 points above that on average for our students. And then below there is the claims. I won't go into them, but those are the different areas and how we scored in those areas. And again, that's for ELA. For math, we are at a plus 6, and last year I believe we were at a 0, meaning we were on average, we were right at standard MET, and now we're at a plus 6. So both with mathematics and with English language arts, the district as a whole showed improvement, and so that's a good sign. We'll be diving a little more into that data at our work study on October 17th, and we'll be looking at it not just with the CAS scores, but we'll be relating the CAS scores directly to our metrics and our LCAP. So we'll be spending a lot more time with that and diving into it. The administrators and staff, I just had this morning my first 2 SIPSA meetings with site principals, and I was telling people I was very excited about that, and I thought maybe I was being a little bit nerdy about it, but I was really excited because first, the administrators that I worked with this morning, and will be working with in the next couple of weeks, they're very excited about looking at the SIPSAs and making sure those SIPSAs are aligned. SIPSAs are single plan for student achievements. They're the school plans. And they're very excited about connecting them to the LCAP, making sure that their plans are in alignment with the LCAP. And there's a new template that they have to put it in that will allow them to have that alignment. So, but they are excited about doing that. And also, they were excited about reviewing their SBAC results and diving a little more deeper into it so that they can utilize those scores to talk to their staff and to give direction to their plan. And then Data Zone, which last year, as you may remember, we were having trouble making sure we got all the data into Data Zone, because Data Zone is basically our data warehouse for everything data in Pacifica. And now that we have a pretty robust data within Data Zone, not only are the principals utilizing it, but we are pushing it out to the teachers so that they'll be utilizing it. We'll be actually providing training on October 8th, and then we'll also be providing more training on individual school sites will be receiving training on how to utilize Data Zone and how to pull data out of there. So the goal is for the teachers to be able to say, oh, I don't need to call Will or Robin to find out this data. I can just pull it up myself, and it can drive their instruction and be a solid data tool for them. And then with regards to programs, starting with humanities, we have a professional development plan with regards to ELA and ELD, English Language Development, English Language Arts. We provided already new teachers, readers, and writers workshop and ELD to all of our new teachers. There are follow-up sessions with those teachers so that they're not just, we gave them one PD and then we let them go and said good luck. We're actually following up with them. Our specialists are following up with supports for them. And then we also had, we're going to continue to have ELD integrated and designated training. That was something that was started, was really pushed last year, and we're going to continue that training this year. There's always a consistent Teachers College Readers and Writers Program, ELD, because that is our integrated focus in English Language Arts. And we're going to be continue to do district-wide training in that, and we're also going to focus PD for Valimar Ortega, which got a little bit of the short end of the stick last year for that. That we're gonna give them more direct supports with regards to that ELD piece. And then we, as we did last year, we're going to continue this our intervention program for our English language arts. We're going to provide training as needed. So the humanities specialists and the humanities leads are identifying places and areas that can use that support, not only for our special ed, RSP, and special day classes, but also for our general ed classrooms also. So that LLI training is going to be, we're going to continue to push that. History and social science, as you know, we have a newly adopted curriculum, and all of the 6th through 8th grade teachers have had a 2-day training on the newly adopted curriculum. And it included an orientation to the program, but also it included, which I'm referring to as a deeper dive training. It referred to the separate components that are within the adoption and the curriculum that connect to the California high school framework. So it's a bit of a paradigm shift about how you teach history and social science. It's not kind of like the way we grew up, where there's a book and you finished the Civil War and you moved on to the next thing. There's themes that are a part of it that are connected to it, and it's much more of a history alive, as they call it. It's a different approach. So the training had to include a little bit of a push. There is going to be continual follow-up with that training, and that's going to be throughout the year, that continued training. Mathematics, our professional development mathematics, we have our bridges and CPM training for new teachers, which we provide, any of the new teachers that haven't had experience with bridges and a CPM, which is our college, I don't know what that stands for, college program math, or thank you, college preparatory math. That's our middle school math program. So the new teachers have had that training and will have follow-up with that training. And then we are providing, this coming on the 7th, we have teacher aides in our combination classrooms that will be trained, have an all-day training on how to support bridges within their classrooms. So not only do we have aides for an hour in math for those combination classes, but we're providing training so that we know how to support within that class. And that's being given by Allison, who worked with the number of the teachers and sites last year on supporting bridges. So we're very fortunate to have Allison do that training, because she really kind of knows our district and knows where we're at with regards to bridges. So very excited about that. We're also going to be doing more of a push now that we have the data zone available. We're going to do a little bit more push for teachers to look at their data and to actually have talks around their data, and then how that connects to their intervention and how that connects to their collaboration with their fellow grade level or school funds, so that what they're working on is data driven. It's connected to what they're seeing in the data. So we're going to be facilitating that training. And then the Bridges Intervention Kit training, we were fortunate enough to have one of our, can I say her name? I guess I can. Betsy Belkin. She went through a training that we paid for her, and it was a week-long training. It was a pretty intense training about how to use this Bridges Intervention Kit, but also how to train others to use this intervention kit. This summer, we started with the special day classes and the RSP teachers, because they were the ones that really needed it the most, because those are the students that were in need of Bridges Intervention training. We started with them this summer, and they got trained 2 days. I think there's another day that's going to come up that we're going to catch the ones that weren't able to make it. that training. And then eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to move to the general ed and start that process with them. We just wanted to make sure before the school year started that they not only had the intervention kit, but they also had the training behind it. And then the mathematics, Bridges, CPM, the assessment, we're going to be using the Bridges into the unit assessments. And then we're going to have 2 benchmark assessments for CPM. And we're still determining what that assessment tool is going to be. We think we're going to use MDTP. Probably got the wrong acronym, but it's an assessment, a benchmark assessment that is being utilized by many of the other districts in this county. So we wanted to kind of be aligned with them, but we're looking in on that. And then our online support program. ST Math will continue to be utilizing that year, but we are looking at another program called Freckle, and it's I know very little, but I've looked at it, but we're looking at it as a possible use for our 3-5 or 3 and up group, because the ST Math seems to be a little bit more K2 focused. So that's, and then our school climate and social emotional learning. We received the SUMS grant, and I believe you're aware of our SUMS grant, and we are just beginning to look at what supports and PD will be around school focuses that we have. We have a meeting coming up with this. That there's 5 of us that are going to Walnut Creek, and we're going to get a better idea of what we can do in that area. We do have the grant for $25,000 for 3 years, $25,000 total for 3 years. But we are going to be putting, and there's a plan within the application that we put in, but we're going to be putting together what that looks like for each of our schools. But we're going off based what the school's focus will be, so we're going to establish that first. And we're focusing on Tier 1, which is what the school-wide agreement for each site. So, a school site might decide that they want to work on community circles in their school as their first type of behavioral Tier 1 piece. That might be their focus, and that'll be kind of their jumping off point about how interventions look for that particular school or that school. So there's a lot of work to be done around that. And then we have our PSD social emotional framework, and we started implementing that already, but we'll continue the implementation and planning with the school site committees. And then we have our social emotional learning reference guide, which has the 5 competencies that are supported by the California standards. So that'll constantly be our guidebook with regards to social emotional learning. We'll be constantly using that as a reference, and that'll support us in creating not only the focus but actually a plan towards within the MTSS structure and with utilizing some of the SUMS grants monies. And then we have our core SEL and climate surveys, and actually this last year we gave out a student survey, a staff survey, and a parent survey, and that will be where that's where the data from that will drive many of our decisions with regards to social emotional learning and school climate. The student one is coming up, and you're probably going to be the first to hear, but it's going to be late September, but that's going to be given to all 3rd through 8th graders. And it'll be very similar, if not identical, to the survey they were given last year. So we'll be able to get data that shows over time, it's like how we did comparatively to last year, and it will really tell us where our focuses should be, or focus should start maybe instead of be. And then the staff survey will be given sometime in the middle of the year. We haven't determined a date or a window for that, and the parent survey will be given in spring, similar to last year. Science in NGSS professional development. So we are, in the middle of this idea of trying to implement NGSS. We do not have a We don't have an adopted curriculum as of yet. We're going to be going through that process fairly soon. But we have in the interim, the K-5 teachers are creating their own curriculum, and they're using a number of different resources, some of them including Picture Perfect STEM unit resources for each grade. That's one of them that they're particularly using. We're very fortunate to have a science, I guess she's referred to as the science specialist, right? Not the STEM, right? We're not there yet. But she's a science specialist, Sarah Watanabe, and she has an incredible background in science and has many resources that she's already pulled from. And she's working with the science leads and with the schools around supporting K-5 in beginning, especially at the 4th and 5th, beginning to implement the NGSS standards. And then our 6th, 8th, they are creating their own curriculum. Last year, if you remember, they piloted a couple of curriculums, and based off that experience and based off input from the leads and from those 6, 8 teachers, they decided the best thing they could do is, because there were so many different resources, that they would create curriculum on their own based off of NGSS. And so what we're providing them is some planning days to do that. Many of those planning days have been utilized already at the beginning, before the year started, and many of those planning days were collaborative. Like a group of them were together creating this program. And then there's going to be a STEAM event at the end of the year that more information will be forthcoming about that. But we're looking at providing a STEAM event at the end of the year. As far as the new NGSS science adoption, we will at one point adopt, and the adoption process for K-5 will be in the 1920 school year, and we will be starting the adoption process and implementing teacher-created curriculum in 1920 for the 6-8 program. And world language Spanish, we have our FLES program at Sunset Ridge. It's a K-5 program. And in our middle school program at Ingleby Lacey, this is new this year, we have a model world language Spanish program. And through articulation with Jefferson Union High School District, we are doing like a Spanish 1 basically in middle school. And there's variations of this year. It's going to look like the 6th grade is going to get exploratory. The 7th grade is getting half of a year, half of Spanish 1, and the 8th grade is doing a full year. They're doing a comprehensive full year program, so that when they move on to Jefferson Union High School District, in a school there, they'll be able to go into Spanish 2 as long as they passed in middle school. And they have this is not costing us anything because it's embedded within the yeah, but it's embedded in the electives. Thank you. Embedded in the electives. It's part of the electives schedule. And then our music curriculum, we have a 3rd through 5th grade music program, and we have a grade 6th through 8th grade music program. And I know there's been a lot of work done over the summer with regards to that. We have 2 wonderful music teachers, Mark Umbenhagen and Samantha Johns, and I know that they've done some work over the summer to try to even improve that program more. And I know, Elizabeth, you've worked in the band room all summer.
And Gowers.
And Ben Gowers, yeah. Sorry, Ben Gowers. And I know that you worked in the band room, cleaning it out and getting it all ready and stuff like that. So that's a lot. I know that's a lot, but if you have any questions you want to ask me, I kind of rattled through that real quick. I tried to keep to the 10-minute thing, but I failed.
have questions.
Yes. Yes, Kathy.
So on the CAS results, the data zone, did you say that are the teachers not accessing that information yet?
They have access to it.
They-
So they have access to it.
Okay.
But to be fair, they haven't been trained how to manipulate through it. Now, I
Okay.
know of many of them that I've been on the phone with directly, they've been asking me questions. They know how to manipulate it. It's fairly user-friendly,
Mm-hmm.
but they need a little bit more of the data zone people coming out and actually training them on it, or
Okay.
at least showing them how they can move around stuff. So there are a number that are utilizing it, but it's not fair to say that they are completely utilizing it because they haven't been really trained on it.
And is there some way that we can see how many of our teachers are utilizing it? Like, is there a click thing that you can see that?
I don't believe so, but I mean, I could ask DataZone that to see if, how they would monitor it. I know that when we do the school site pieces, the goal is for them to pull all of their data off that, to utilize all of the data off that, and for the district office or the leads not to have to paper feed them or PDF
Sure.
feed them there. So we're hoping to get to that point by that October 8th, because on the October 8th there will be some training, but there will also be school site trainings already before that. So we're hoping to be able to say, okay, now that you've got a grasp of this, and you can look it on, we're gonna save some trees, and then they'll be utilizing it more. But I can check to see if there is
I mean,
a
I'm
way
just
of monitoring.
thinking, we have this whole thing available. It's nice to know how many people are actually utilizing
Yeah.
it, if we're getting our money's worth or whatever. Or if they need more assistance
Yeah.
in how to use it. And then the world languages, we have received agreement from Jefferson in writing, correct? About,
In an email.
Articulation.
that counts as writing,
That counts as
right? That they will, honor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they're, the assistant superintendent up there, Kareem Baca, I've been in contact with her, and she sent out an email because I just wanted clarification to be sure that, and within that agreement is that there is a credit.
okay.
Can I just fill in a couple details on that?
Yes.
So, the agreement is that the students would take a placement test, and should they pass the placement test of having mastered course 1, that they would move into year 2. And that the credit, the high school credit, would be 10 elective credits. It wouldn't be world languages credit, and that's two
Right.
reasons why. Number one is because they are looking at growing their world language program, and to not have kids take that would be a deficit to their program. But really more importantly, as part of entrance to the CSU UC system, is that you want to have at least 2 years of world languages credit. And that's going to be very important for students so they felt like it was a win-win, is that
Sure.
students could get the elective credit, so they were getting credit, but they also would be compelled to be taking world languages.
Sure, okay. And then I did receive a question from a parent in the district who looked this over and asked, under the mathematics professional development, there is a bullet point that states Bridges Intervention Kit Training, SDC, RSP teachers. When will general education teachers receive this training, or have they already received it?
Okay, so some of them have received it indirectly, but not the way they should, but they're able to utilize the kits, but they're doing it in a way where they're borrowing the kits. So what we did was, we purchased the kits for every RSP and SDC. They're fairly expensive. So because we knew that we wanted to train them first, because our most vulnerable students, the ones that needed it at the most, were those special ed students within that group. But the goal is to have the general ed do it. So we're going to move it out to the general ed, because we want to avoid the idea of a student needs to have an intervention kit, they gotta go outside the classroom and get it from an RSP teacher or
Right.
SSDC. We don't want that. So that's been communicated very clearly, but it was pretty much a consensus that we needed to get something for those teachers so they would
Sure.
have a tool to support those students. So the goal is to move it out to the general ed, so the general ed would have an option, and to purchase additional kits with it.
Okay.
So that's going to be something we're going to try to have happen this year.
So I'll give her that information and your contact
Yes.
information in case she has
Yeah.
a specific school site or a
Yeah.
concern to talk to you about. Okay, thank you.
We'll leave you now.
They were good sports. Go board them to
Welcome
Those
aboard.
ESS updates and send to the door. I know, isn't that lovely? That is lovely.
So I had a
Welcome to
couple.
the family.
A couple comments here. One, I totally agree with your your decision to provide the kits and the training of the kits to the RSP teachers first, because if you look at the dashboard,
Yeah.
that's where we get it. So you have my full backing on that, and eventually the general ed teachers will get it as well. So
Yeah.
it's not good. I know you said, well, we'll talk about the claim scores later
Yeah.
a little bit. I'm a little confused with the claim scores, and I should probably know what they are. But the charts, and I know you didn't make these charts. They're given to you. They're pre-canned, right,
Yeah.
reports. But it just looks strange to me a little bit because we have, for instance, in the ELA, we have a 60-40 split between those students that
Meeting
that are above,
standards.
that made standards. And then if you look at the distributions of the sort of the dimensions of the ELA, so we have reading, writing, listening, research, inquiry, right? And I assume that the 60-40 split is made up of some sort of mean scale score where they combine these things. If you look at those distributions, the blue is above standard. The middle part, which is the gray, is near standard, right? So that kind of tells me that it's not quite yet the standard because it's near. And all of that blue, all of those numbers are far lower than 60%. So I'm not sure what the claim scores are telling me here, but if we're going to learn about it later on, I'm looking forward to that so I can interpret this correctly. I want to kind of call attention that 60-40 split is where we are and we're on the up, but we've got to do better. If 40% of our kids, if 4 out of 10 kids are not meeting standards, we have an opportunity to improve. And it's even a little bit more opportunity to improve when we get to math, right? Slightly. So I don't want us to kind of rest on our
Oh,
laurels.
no.
So
Hopefully I didn't message you that.
no, not really. I mean, and well, the last thing that I want to say is that average, we're +6 on math and +19 on ELA. That's on average how far we're up. But averages can be deceiving, and averages could be those students that are above are raising the average for those that are below.
Yeah.
Right? So another way to look at this is we're only as good as the kids that are doing the worst, right? And we got to take care of those struggling kids. And clearly the Bridges Intervention Kit is you're directing resources there first. So I totally appreciate that. So I just want to make sure I want to in the future I want to start looking at some of our neighboring districts as well and seeing how we compare to them.
I did have preliminary county scores, state scores, but they were preliminary and they weren't really. We're going to get it when we get the dashboard.
Yeah.
The dashboard, and the dashboard unfortunately doesn't come out till October or late
Sure.
November. So it's more of like we have to act on it we have to kind of like, okay, start looking at it now, but we're sometimes, some of the data is too preliminary, like, it was another chart I just pulled up, but it's, I'm not confident that it's inclusive of all students, number one, and second, that it's as accurate as, yeah.
And you always have the uncertainty that CDE is going to change
Yeah.
the cut scores.
Yeah.
So
You want to fault back to the scale scores. You want to just fault back to the scale scores and say, how many scored, this is the scale for fourth grade. How many scored in this area, how many scored in this area, how many scored in this area. But that might be a mistake when they put the dashboard and they make the shift.
Sure. So I totally agree with that. I mean, this is a continuous improvement. You have to keep looking at it. So you don't want to look at data that isn't final. So that's good. I had a question about the data zone. I mean, I remember last year there were difficulties in getting them to upload, in particular, our local assessments, right? So is that the pain that you were talking about?
That was a summer pain, yeah.
Okay. Now, I just want to make sure, are we on a good schedule with them that we're confident they're going to be doing that in a timely manner now? Or, I mean, have the hiccups gone away?
Yeah, we have, I cannot predict the future, but I feel pretty confident that us putting the F&P scores in, us putting the math benchmark scores in, they have a tool. Nelson is the one that puts them in. He has the tool, he puts them into that tool, sends it to them, they load it. So for some scores, like our LPAC scores I'm talking about the English language, the new CELT, right? Those can happen at any time during the year.
Sure.
So we're going to have to like choose a time when we do the uploads, and then know that, okay, that's dated at this time, but we're uploading it then. So for us to analyze the data, we have to wait till after that data is loaded. But for the most part, the rest of them is they're going to be either on Synergy, so they'll just be naturally uploaded overnight, or they will be, like trimester 1 assessment, trimester 2 assessment, trimester 3 assessment. We load them right after we get them, so.
I just want to make sure that, because remember, they're our client.
Yes.
Right? We pay them money, so they should be serving us, and if they're not, we should be putting pressure on them. And but I'm happy that that's on track now. It seems like it's going to be running smoothly, and we can start leveraging that, and it would be good because my understanding is you should be able to get some sort of reports, at least in aggregate, for other districts, right?
Yeah.
So,
and there is a group that meets pretty regularly. They're called Data Zone. I forget what they call it. Data Zone Reporters Group or something. Data Zone Reporter. Anyway, sessions where we meet at, and they have meetings pretty regularly. So all these issues get brought up to them, to their front. Like for instance, this year we're not paying Data Zone anything because of what happened last year. So because they're trying to, so they want to keep us as a client. So, anyway.
Okay, thanks. And very excited about the second year of the core student survey.
Yeah.
So super excited about that. And you already asked about the Spanish. We're absolutely certain that the articulation agreement is valid.
Yeah.
And so when they're assessed, they get assessed when they go to 9th grade there?
It would be a placement assessment. I think that, I forgot the specifics, but I believe that the high school teacher will do the oral and our teacher will do the written.
Okay, but it'll be the 9th grade year.
Correct, yes, at the end of the 8th grade year.
Oh, end of the 8th grade year.
Correct.
Oh, great. So the high school teacher will come over here and...
That's what they
That's great.
asked for.
So the high school teacher, just to add to that, the high school teacher and the middle school teacher that's at IBL, they've already met numerous times. So the program that she's running is consistent with the program that
Great.
They've collaborated together, which was a very exciting thing. And the high school teacher did it willingly, which is nice.
Excellent.
Oh, I had one more question, comment. It wasn't on the slides, but you said that we were using MDTP, we were thinking about using MDTP. And is that for placement, for the high school placement, or is that just for our own
No.
efficacy in our
That's for, te-
programs.
that's for teaching practices, like looking at data across schools, across grades, across classes. Yeah. So, and that is, we are just setting up accounts for that, for them to do that. We're gonna try to have the first assessment done pretty, along the lines of the first trimester. And then have one done, at minimum, one done closer to the end of the year, and then we'll have that. The actual placement into high school, there's a big up in the air about that, because remember we used the MARS tasks, and then we used as one indicator, not the wholly indicator, but, and then we also used the PSAT. I don't know if we're gonna continue to use the PSAT. It's gonna be a conversation between the school districts. So I'm a little bit anxious and to understand what we're going to be using. So I don't know if maybe they may say MDTP, maybe it's not appropriate. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Will. Okay, 11B, the grant agreement between Silicon Valley Community Foundation and Pacifica School District. Will.
All right, let me pull that up there. Yes, so this is the grant agreement that we've had this agreement before. This agreement is a bit longer. It used to be called Close the Gap Grant. I think it still is, or it's still kind of referred to as. It's a so we did have this grant before, but this time this grant is a little bit longer. It is for $24,000, but it goes through June of 2020. Most of these funds, or all of these funds, are towards local initiatives that connect early childhood learning with our TK program. Hilda Carlin, who's our early learning program coordinator, we put together a program that has been driven by what the preschool teachers and staff are telling us, and the TK staff about making these connections, so they're around goals that are connected to that. There's a lot of federal things we need to follow with regard to ESSA, ESSA. I don't even know what that stands for, but
Every Student Succeeds Act.
Every Student Succeeds that has a section in it about pre-K and TK, the early learning program. So all of our goals are aligned along those to support that. To be quite honest with you, we're ahead of the game. We have a lot of things in place that are already there, so we're kind of pushing it a lot forward. So we're still going to have those two events where we pull in all the pre-K programs from all over and get them together and have some PD, but also have some collaboration between our kinders and our TKs and our first and seconds, and then this year we're hoping to have some visits. So the TK teachers and first grade teachers visit pre-K programs and vice versa, and this funding allows us to be able to do that without using our general fund money.
So this is $24,000 over 2 years.
$24,000 through June.
Yeah. So how do we just apply for the grant and then they dole out however much they can afford, or do we request a certain amount of money?
It's kind of a standard amount that was towards the request. This was similar the last time, and I think it was around the same amount, but it was for more than a year, but it wasn't this amount. It wasn't 2 years. I think it was 18 months, something to that effect. And so it was the grant that we wrote this time was very similar to the grant we wrote last time, but with same goals, but new activities and actions towards those goals. So yeah, we pretty much knew ahead of time. You'll get around 24,000, so ask for 24,000.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you feel like it's going really well, is there any reason not to try to expand it a bit and ask for
Yeah,
more?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The worst they could say is no, or give you the 24 if you ask for 36.
We've had conversations with Kristen, and I forget her last name, but Thorsten. She used to be our early learning program coordinator, so we kind of have an inside ear about that. And we'd say, hey, how, maybe we can get a little more, or maybe we can get another grant that's kind of can couple up with it, because Silicon Valley Community Foundation gives out a number of different grants for a number of different reasons.
Sure.
So we've been looking at opportunities to couple grants together with the idea of indirectly trying to expand the program and just have more people involved.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the contact name
Yes.
updated.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
that idea that Wendy Tuckloff was still on there as a contact, when we applied for the grant, that was the name.
Right.
And the key is that the name of the one right above that, the contact name was Pacifica School District.
Right.
And I think that was done purposefully,
Okay.
so that,
Well, they accepted Heather's signature,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
we're in it.
yeah. And then when Brenda sets up the contract with them, it'll have Heather's name instead of, as we're setting up the contract.
Great.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, do we have a motion to approve the grant agreement?
I'll motion to approve the grant agreement with Silicon Valley.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. 11C, resolution number 2018-08-29-A, conflict of interest governance. Heather?
Okay, each year we, as board members and as cabinet members, we are asked to complete a Form 700 to designate whether we have accepted any gifts or other kinds of things. And so the purpose tonight is that we have to update our policy. It is approved by the Board of Supervisors for San Mateo County. And they simply look at, do the positions, so board members and CBO and superintendent fill out 2 sections on the Form 700, and the other cabinet members fill out one section of that code. And so tonight, what we ask for you to do is to approve the conflict of interest code that has been updated. Are there any questions?
Have any questions or discussion? No? Do we have a motion to approve the conflict of interest? And do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. 11D, resolution number 2018-08-29-B for Attendance Awareness Month. Maria?
Yes, well, I'm very happy to bring this forward to you as a resolution to recognize Attendance Awareness Month. What we have learned in the educational setting in more recent years is the importance of children coming to school on a regular basis from the very beginning of their school career. And conversely, what impact chronic absenteeism has on a child's not only academic performance, but also just kind of holistic well-being as well. So it's a really good, I think, productive activity for us to pay attention and to have mindfulness about that and awareness. And so I recommend that we approve the resolution, and we will do our part in the schools to keep that in the forefront during the month of September and always.
Do you have any discussion or questions? No? We have a motion to approve the Attendance Awareness Month?
Go ahead.
I motion to approve Attendance Awareness Month.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
11E, resolution 2018-08-29-C certifying results of Measure O, general bond election held on June 5th, 2018. Operations. Josie Peterson?
Okay, thank you. This resolution is the official certification of our Measure O bond election from June 5th, which was very successful. The numbers kept rising from the 55% to over 60%. So attached is the resolution, and we also have the notification from Mark Church, the assessor's office, certifying the election results. And we just are asking the board tonight to approve that resolution.
Any questions or discussion? No?
Nobody wants a recount, right?
No?
But I think, again, it bears our time to say thank you to the people who ran the campaign and to all of our community for continuing to support what we do for the benefit of all of our children.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the resolution certifying the results of Measure O? Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, 11F, call for nominations for directors at large, Asian Pacific Islander and Hispanic. Heather?
California School Boards Association has sent a letter asking for nominations of directors at large. They do that in 2018 for Asian, Pacific Islander, and Hispanic directors at large. And so the question I put before you is, do we have someone that we'd like to nominate for those groups? In 2019, there are additional directors at large that perhaps one of our board members might be interested in.
We do 2-year terms, is that?
I think it is 2-year
Oh,
terms,
okay.
but it's 2018 is one group, and then in 2019 is when the Native American Caucus is seeking directors.
Okay. All right. Seeing no nominations, we'll go on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 11G, another resolution. Resolution number 2018-08-29-D, Board Compensation for Missed Meeting. Heather?
Oh, sorry. Dropped the ball on that one. Sorry, I was not prepared. Compensate board memo. There we go. So it's recommended that the Pacifica School Board of Trustees approve the resolution, which is board compensation for missed meeting. And this resolution, 2018-829D, would be for Laverne Villalobos, who is absent on the August 8th board meeting due to hardship.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? I've missed.
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second? All in favor?
Board passes 4-0, 1 abstain.
Okay, 11H, report interest earned fourth quarter 2017-2018, operations. Josie?
Okay, this is an information item to the board. We do bring quarterly report of what interest is earned by fund, and Will has brought it up on the screen. It shows the general fund, child nutrition, and all the various funds. The interest rate was about 1.85% for the fourth quarter, so it's not a huge amount, but it all adds up. So the county just finished closing out the books for June, and we did receive this interest in the month of July. So just information for the board.
Okay. Any questions?
No, my only question is there's always TRAN on here, and is there ever a case where you have enough TRAN money that's earning interest that?
Yeah, there is a little bit sometimes, but we just.
But it's never a money-making strategy.
No.
You're always paying more interest on the TRAN than you're making,
Yeah,
right?
not in the current split of how much property taxes we get versus LCFF, because we receive more property taxes. We're using the TRAN more because we're only getting paid those 2 months of the year.
Yeah.
So in some years, if you were getting more LCFF funds and less property taxes,
little
we
bit of TRAN in there.
would have more of this.
Okay. All right, 12, board bylaws, board policies, and administrative regulations. 12A, March 2018 manual maintenance, 1,000 reading, first series, first reading.
So, as you know, we update our policies regularly, and we use the CSBA sample policies and compare it to our current policies. And in the 1000 series, the important policy that I bring before you today is the uniform complaint policy. CSBA has updated to make sure that it meets all of the legal requirements. Two important things that you should note in terms of the board policy that is new is that it directly calls out children of military families and also immigration status. So that is something new. On page 2, I updated the programs that we participate in, and so a number of those are lined out because we don't receive those kind of funds and participate in those programs. There were a few items that do not apply to us because we do not have high schools. And in my 8 weeks as the superintendent, I understand how important this uniform complaint process is, and I want to make sure that not only that we are compliant and up to date and legal, but also that we prominently display it on our school website, and we inform both employees and parents of the use of the uniform complaint process. So the policy that we recommend bringing forward is CSBA with just minor revisions. And then when I go on to the administrative regulations, it mirrors the policy with just a few other updates, is that we call out who is the, I'm trying to look at what page, who is where one would file a complaint. So very specifically, our previous one had the position of associate superintendent, and I have put in the position of executive director, which just makes this current. Other than that, there were two minor errors or typos that were caught by our board member, and we will update that and bring that forward. Do you have any questions or comments about the policy? Thank you.
Who caught the typos?
What's that?
Who caught the typos?
I wonder.
Just spell check. Okay, 12B, March 2018 manual maintenance, 4,000, 5,000 series, first reading. Maria?
Well, likewise, we have quite a chunk of the 3,000 to sort of 4,000 and 5,000 series for updating. The 4,000 series has to do with human resources and personnel matters, and then 5,000 has to do with matters related to student services such as confidentiality, student privacy, family privacy, and those kinds of things. There were quite a few of those. If I were to say in general, what most of the revisions were about updating according to the updates in the various laws that govern all of those areas, and reshuffling or rewording of some of the language to be more streamlined and to be aligned with the revisions in the law. Were there any particular questions or comments that I could answer?
BP 4119.11, sexual harassment. On the third page at the bottom, it talks about a possible complaint hotline if available for reporting, and I'm wondering if PSD has this, because I know we have a hotline for bullying for our students, so on.
Right, and thank you for bringing that up. We did some research. We do not have a hotline in particular for this type of reporting, but it may be something we would want to consider. And so, since the language is permissive, it's not, it's not a shall. I would suggest that we leave it in so that if we have opportunity to implement that before the policy is already in place.
Okay.
But it's at your discretion.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that for a lot of these issues, the more ways you have for people to be able to report concerns, I don't know, I don't want to, I'm not sure if we don't have it that this is something we need to get on right now, but maybe again, it's something you could look into and see if it's something that might be helpful for our staff.
Exactly.
Anything
else?
Yes. 4161.8, about family care and medical leave. On page 18, there's a paragraph regarding outpatient status. This is for our military families. And it talks about mentioning military medical treatment facility. However, having some of my kids in the military, I do know that depending on where they're based, they often use civilian medical centers. So I'm wondering, does this policy, if somebody was in the military and they were using Seton or something else, does this preclude their family members from taking time off because they're not, or does it then fall to just the spousal non-military?
And I read it over several times to see if I could sort that out. And my interpretation of it is that whatever it is, the military is kind of the designator of what that status is in terms of the outpatient and who can be the provider in those cases, whether it's the military facility or another facility.
Right.
And so if that designation is made, then that triggers the ability of the caregiver to use this policy
For either medical facility that's military or civilian. They would be covered on either.
as long as it was designated. I think there has to be a connection between the military, the event that, or the illness or injury that brought the patient to the care of the medical profession, and that the military would have to designate that facility, whether it's a military facility or a designated, an appropriate facility in lieu of the military facility.
So then how would our district know what the do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we had, and the reason I ask, I know we don't have any bases here, but we do have recruiters. There are Daly City, Army, Marine, whatever recruiters. So it is possible we could have military spouses in our district.
Right. And my guess is that there must be documentation when those designations are made.
Okay.
That's kind of the extent of my lay interpretation of that. I can certainly do a little bit more digging around and, inquiries and see if we can get one.
Yeah, my main concern is just to make sure that if we have staff who has a military spouse, the district wouldn't come and say, oh, I'm sorry, but your recruiter spouse got serviced at Seton, so you can't take time off to care for them. Do you know what I mean? It was so specific, that language, it just concerned me that
I can sure look into it a little bit more before the next reading.
Or if we can look at, because we can adjust language to what we feel. So I'm thinking even if we just make it, take out military and just say medical facility. I don't think that we have to take the position of sort of, overreaching what the military says they need. If somebody's spouse, because our regular policy on spouses is if your spouse is needing medical care and you need to take some time off and they're not military, you're allowed to do that for a hardship. So I don't know what you all.
Then there would be no difference then.
Right.
The policy applies regardless.
Yes.
So it would seem that one.
So would that supersede?
Well,
That's what I was wondering.
Right. I mean, it almost seems like this is extraneous.
Right. Right.
So let me do a little more
looking
around.
Yeah, if you don't mind. I mean, I did call my daughter up in Washington to ask her about that. So.
What did she say?
Well, she was the one that brought up in this area, there aren't like medical hospitals because there's not a base right here. There's one across the bay, but that's not Army, so, yeah.
Yeah.
If
I
you don't
think-
mind looking,
Yeah, no,
just
not
sort
at
of
all.
looking at
It's
that.
good to know.
And then the next page, they talk about an injury or illness of National Guard and Reserves in the line of duty or active duty. And that kind of is the same thing for me because for National Guard and Reserves, my understanding is, for instance, my son-in-law who's in the Army, he's considered on active duty 365 days a year. But some of these, you're in active duty when you report. So then again, what happens if they're injured, but it's not in the line of active duty? It's the same
The same.
issue?
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that their spouses or caregivers would be allowed to take or given the time off to take care of them.
And I think this is the kind of the reverse of that. This is to ensure that the district doesn't exclude that from being possible because it's a military-related injury or illness.
Okay,
Versus, so that either way,
right,
there's coverage for the
right,
family.
right,
That's how I think this is intended.
okay.
But I can,
Yeah, I
again, same
just,
thing, I can dig around or
That would
ask
be
around
great.
how other people interpret it in our neighboring
Okay.
districts.
yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
I have one question, maybe my colleagues here, and Maria, you can help me as well. It's BP 5022A.
I'm sorry, 502?
22A, and it's the student and family privacy rights.
Oh,
And so the first page, and it's all highlighted, is talking about, under what circumstances might the superintendent or his or her designee collect or disclose students' personal information. And there's a list of sort of four things that are on the first page, starting with college or other post-secondary education recruitment or military recruitment. And it goes on, and the first four I kind of understand. And then on the next page, it's really sneaky because it's sort of this fifth one that you might miss. But it says the sale by students of products or services to raise funds for school-related or education-related activities. And I'm just not sure why that would merit collecting personal information on students. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about cookie sales, or what? I just don't really get it. So, if anybody can clarify what that's doing there.
I'll give you an example that I think may have applied that I didn't allow to happen, but it's, there are some readathons and there is some online software that keeps track of what students read. And it has, I think, a parent email and a student email and so when I was the assistant superintendent, I didn't allow them to use that without asking the parents for their permission for that. It is getting harder and harder because that sneaks into our life and we don't even think of that as being information, but that's what it is information.
And if they start listing the books that they read, all of a sudden they're building a marketing database for little Johnny and Jane. Thank you. That's very helpful.
We may want to consider taking that out or just, it's really more the awareness of that as opposed to we don't really give it a second thought.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on the? Okay, thank you, Maria. Future agenda items. Heather.
So for next time, and our meeting, remember, is on Thursday, September 20th. Will please tell as many people as you can remember, is that if you have any further questions on the 1,000, 4,000, and 5,000 series, please let us know. But if not, we'd like to take those for your approval with consent. And then also we will have a resolution to acknowledge the week of the administrator. And district business would be opening of school, which I think we'll talk about both staffing and enrollment. And then in the business category, the adoption of GAN and approval of the unaudited actuals. And the manual maintenance that we'll have coming forward is the 0 series, the 3000 series, and the 6000 series. Are there any other topics or subjects you would like information on?
I just want to clarify on those, that AR 41618, if we can get, if you find out verification that everyone's covered, if she notifies all the board, that doesn't need, that's fine with me to be on consent.
Okay.
It's just my concern that those families are covered.
But we'll make sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other topics you'd like to discuss at the Thursday meeting? Thursday the 20th?
Thursday.
Okay. The meeting's adjourned at 8:20.